Hey everyone, today we're diving into a hot topic that's been making waves in Paso, Robles. The city's manager Ty Lewis has filed a $2.275 million claim against the city. What's going on? Let's break it down. Ty Lewis is accusing Councilman Chris Bausch and others of bullying and harassment. He listed several incidents involving Bausch's alleged behavior, but multiple videos and recordings don't back up these claims. Lewis pointed to statements made on local radio shows and at a pastry shop. But the audio recordings don't support his accusations. He also mentioned an article from CalCoastNews claiming it falsely reported on his attempt to dissuade Bausch from voting against paid parking. However, the article accurately portrayed the conversation, according to the recordings. On March 8th, Lewis, Bausch, and Mayor John Heyman met at Angela's Pastries. The following is a recording of the entire conversation at the pastry shop.
Aware of it as a council member, I think it's imperative that we get that out on the table, and that's kind of where I was going with this, Chris. It's not a critique of you. What I'm trying to do is create a positive environment for the council to operate and staff to operate. And again, if it's me that is from the council meetings that you're referring to, then call me out. I'm okay with that. What I'm worried about is the comments when you say staff or people say, and when we repeat those things, it reinforces a negative that oftentimes there's no proof given.
So you want me to just name Donna?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
If it's Donna that's doing that and saying that, then by the way, she's leaving. She's going to become the Slow City parking manager. She turned in her notice yesterday. So we'll be hiring somebody new for that position. But absolutely, if we have people that are making comments or not supporting the organization or council's mission, I need to know about it, because that is my job, is to make sure that we present as positive of an image of to the community and to our constituents as possible. And the real reason why I wanted to bring this here is because if we send mixed messages when it comes to the renewal of E12, meaning that, hey, I think it's a good idea, but I think the staff and council has created an environment to undermine that. Those are two incongruent messages that you can say one or the other, and I'm okay with that because they both could be true. But are we behind getting E12 renewed or not?
I don't think I am behind getting it. As I said the other day at council meeting, I said that we jeopardize the passage of E12 if we pursue this paid parking. And I fully believe that.
Perceived on what you've been hearing from the public?
My experience with M16, just talking to people around town, business owners, people that would normally say, yes, we need to do this, key players. I'm sure you have your own key players. I think everybody's in agreement with them. We want to do this. But here, let me just repeat what I said. It has we're going to have three measures on the ballot. The county, us, and the resolution parking referendum. Sorry. So people are going to be voting.
Two of those are assumptions, in fairness.
Okay.
Yeah, because we don't.
Three of them are assumptions.
All
Three of them are assumptions.
If we're doing this or not yet.
Yeah, nobody's voted from the council to put this on there yet.
But I think if we can play whatever you want. I don't care. But let's say, for argument's sake,
for that sake,
that we have three items. They're going to. It'll just kind of be a tumbling effect. We're going to say no on paid parking. We're going to say no on your referendum. We're going to say no on SoCal's referendum. Even if there's only two, I don't think the referendum to pass parking. I don't know how they're going to set it up, whether it's for parking or against it. It could be a yes or a no vote. But bottom line is, I don't think the city will be allowed. The voters will vote it down, however they frame it, the question. And I don't even want to see it on the ballot because I want E12 to pass.
We need it. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And we need it to be 1%, and we need it to be open-ended.
I guess my question
So
is,
if we have too many things on the ballot, like the referendum, they all risk being torpedoed.
that's true, and I guess there's, that's the risk with any time, and that's the reason why we do polling, and we, as of currently, I can tell you that even with, the slow cog measure on the, potentially on the ballot, the numbers are skewed in our favor right now, and that's from an independent pollster talking to potential registered voters on it. So as of right now, U12 has about 60% plus support with at a 1/2 cent renewal, and then it's slightly less, I think 58%.
So let's do a second poll, not arguing with you, agreeing with you. I think I just said everybody wants E12 to pass. Now the pollsters put in the question and frame it: if you were to vote for paid parking or a sales tax, which would you vote for?
Well,
And you were
it's not an or.
don't interrupt. When you frame those kinds of questions, you're setting up. Have you ever done backwards market research?
I've done a lot of this.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
how many questions do you ask to get there?
So on our current market research, off the top of my head, we do the way it works out is we have just the question. If you put on and I'm happy, I don't know how much time you have because I'm happy to get into all of the nuances of polling, but what I really wanted to talk about was how do we unite as a council? How do we, if I'm creating a hostile work environment, I need to know about it, the rest of the council needs to know about it, and we need to take immediate corrective action if there's any validity to it. The second part of that is how do we work together as a team and not divide each other when it comes to our communication, our interaction with each other, and creating the most positive environment we can to succeed as a team. That's my goal. It's not to criticize anybody. It's to point out the realities of the information. And I think that, the way that people are feeling, including you, anybody in this conversation, I'm trying to come here as a uniter and as a team builder to try and create a positive environment, not an environment that many other boards have experienced where they're mired in controversy, and what that reflects about our community. To me, it's completely avoidable, despite the variance in opinion we may have on one particular matter, which I'm not trying to downplay. The community, the council, this is the way democracy is designed to function. If the community wants a referendum and wants to get to that point, that's democracy. I don't have a problem with any of that. If the system, the way it's working now, if they want to vote out John and Sharon and others, that's democracy. That's the way it works because they're not happy with the representation that they have. I guess what I'm trying to say is, how do we let that process take place naturally without appearing divided and without appearing negative as a group, to make sure that we create the best environment possible to succeed as a group?
When's the last time you went through Brown Act training?
Probably within the last 6 months, 7 months.
Part of it is, we talked about the 5-0 votes.
Yeah.
And 5-0 votes end up being subject to suspicion.
Sure.
Some people like to think that a 5-0 vote is the milestone of a nice, harmonious relationship. Other people view 5-0 votes as being a rubber stamp.
Yeah.
I will never, ever be accused of being a rubber stamp.
Nor am I including 5-0 votes.
And if we, Mayor Martin pulled me aside down in Long Beach, first meeting, Cal City's meeting, my orientation meeting, Wednesday evening. and said, look, we really want to show 5-0 votes. We like that. And we want to have discussions beforehand. We don't want to have discussions on the dais. And I said, I'm not your guy. That's not me. I think that's where discussions happen. What I told him is that I would get questions that I was going to raise on the dais. Most of them, sometimes questions come up on the dais. I would get questions to staff beforehand. That's where you come in. And I've done a really good job of asking those questions and telegraphing what I'm going to have.
No blindside.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I've done a good job of that. Once in a while, I didn't think about that. Sure. Somebody says something, and it's like, oh, good point. You sparked a lot of secondary questions because you have the insight that I think a very common insight is fellow business owners that most people don't think of. So you'll say something, say, oh, yeah,
Trigger that.
Extrapolate that.
That's what it's about, the discussion.
Right. All right. And I think in a democracy that you describe, that's where the discussion takes place.
Right.
And I don't think it takes place beforehand. The fact that this is an ongoing discussion, I'm going to assume that we're just talking about parking here. If there's another issue that I've been advice about, we'll have to let me know. I believe it's just parking.
It's not even the topic. I don't care.
I think it needs to be for me to go back and be retrospective and figure out how am I being divisive.
And that's what I'm here to try and explain.
So on the parking issue, just before you leave that topic completely, it's important that we eliminate any controversy to E12, any angst that we might have to have a vote. Having a referendum for parking just rubs salt in it.
I see your point, but I don't agree. They're separate and distinct. I mean, parking is, in my opinion, the reason I'm doing this is because it's public property that's being misused. It has nothing to do with fixing our roads. So E12, is more supportive streets, improvement, maintenance.
So
That's my line. Okay, that's the way I'm looking at it. I try to explain that, but the other flip side that I've been hearing, Chris, is that sometimes you'll make a comment to staff, like a word or something that just doesn't. It's kind of, I'm going to say out of line. It's not really the best thing to say in public.
be specific.
The other day you would say.
I can give you a couple that are specific. So one is staff is being disingenuous.
Yeah, something like that.
That was a comment that you made the other day. There's been other examples too where you said you believe there's a conflict with Elizabeth Hull representing us. Yet in closed session you voted 5-0 saying that there wasn't a conflict and should direct me to sign the non-conflict letter.
What else did she say during that meeting?
No, I'm giving you
What did she say during that meeting?
about
Dual representation.
you'll have to explain it for the record.
So she said, all right, she recommended and she brought suggestions for us to consider.
By the way, you can't use this if you're going to release it to
I
the
can't use this
public.
in court. I'm not.
No. I just meant it to the public. If we're going to talk Brown Act stuff, I just want to before we go down that road, I want to make sure we're
I haven't planned on releasing this in
Okay.
public, and I can only put it in court, and then your attorney would have to dispute it. This is a public building, so you can record anything you want because it's in.
No, I have no problem. I have nothing to hide. That's not the issue.
Neither do I. But thank you for that, pointing that out. So she said, and I think she said this, may have said this actually in open session as well. She will continue representing the city at the council's pleasure. But if there ever came a time when that was no longer recommended, she would step down. That was good advice. So council at that moment, myself included, said, okay, let's see where this goes. And again, more stuff has come out. Is it time for Elizabeth?
What additional stuff has come out?
Yeah, I don't understand where this.
Their E&O, we hadn't talked about E&O contribution. when we took that one. We hadn't talked about other possible conflicts of interest that the public raised during one of the meetings.
What was that?
Yeah, I don't recall that.
The ownership, for example, of vacation rentals by council members. Should they recuse themselves from the parking discussion because paid parking gives their vacation rentals a leg up and unfair advantage?
I think that, I have asked the city attorney about that. There is no conflict.
But that's the conflict. You're asking the city attorney, the same city attorney, may have to defend themselves from previous.
She's not defending the council on that matter. On the conflict, there's been plenty of
If
time.
she ends up doing so,
That's not her job to defend it. Her job is to, much like what we did with the ad hoc, is to bring the legal situation. Do you have a legal right to do something? And then
he says he has to get his own attorney. He can't use Elizabeth Hall.
that's not entirely true either.
Fine, it is true.
No, it is not true. Will you let me finish now? You're cutting me off now.
You paused.
I paused for effect. So the city attorney can respond in limited circumstances. Now, if they're going to represent him in a dispute over fines or findings, they can't represent him. But it would be the same for any council member in the original responses to do that. And those are the things that I guess that I'm confused with when it comes to, when you and all I want to see is, I don't want to see us fall into the trap that a lot of other communities do, where we resort to spreading rumor, innuendo, or any type of, community members can come and do all of that. If you believe them, then say, I believe this, and do it. But the way it's presented now is members of the community are saying this, and that they feel this way, but you repeat these things, so then it becomes your message. And for me, it's like, hey, if you have a critique of me and you think my performance is everything that everybody else is saying, we can fix that. Council, I serve at the council's pleasure. And if you don't think that the majority of the council doesn't think that I'm measuring up in that respect, I'm fully prepared to take whatever consequences come with that. I am putting my all into representing the council impartially. And what I mean by that is if three of you say this is the direction we're going, then as long as it's not illegal, unethical, or immoral, my job is literally to carry out what the majority of the council wants. My job is to bring you as much information as I can to shed as much light, and then you guys can make the decision. All I'm trying to focus on, Chris, is trying for us to create a positive environment as best we can. And I think there's ways to get your message out, whatever that message is, without doing damage to relationships or to people. Building that trust wherever we can and working on it. That's all my message is today, is a message of positivity, trying to get us moving in a direction that doesn't bring us to levels that other communities and other boards have faced, where it becomes a toxic or a chaotic environment where it becomes difficult to maneuver and you don't know who you're going to trust and when. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying, and that's why the other day when you and I talked, I wanted to say, hey, there are ways to deliver the same message, but without coming across as if you're, when it comes to John, Sharon, or anybody else, and they're going to have to answer for their own decisions and their own thought processes and their own interactions with the community. I don't see the benefit of repeating those kind of rumors and innuendos that the community might bring about those council members. to me, it's a slippery slope that if you play it to the end, isn't beneficial to anybody. And that's all the message I'm trying to get is, how do we improve our relationships among us? That was not a pause for effect. That was a period.
A lot to unpack there. One, your performance. When your employees come talk to me about this, I'm going to ask John here. What's the protocol if somebody came to you with that complaint? You know, about what electors are supposed to follow?
About Ty you're talking about? I'd go right directly to Ty.
Okay. And second step?
Bring him in there. Yeah.
Second step after that?
See where it goes from there. You know,
third step after that?
I'm not going to do scenarios.
No, it's not scenario. This is what we're trained to do. I think those questions. I can think it's in ethics. So you directly employ. Have you had a talk with your supervisor? And they talk to their supervisor. If it's someone who reports directly to Ty, that can be problematic. So the second step would be to have to talk to HR. HR has the right protocol to follow. If HR is unresponsive, then they're supposed to go to legal counsel. And legal counsel is supposed to intervene and bring about fair reconciliation. So that's what I've done. I don't need.
Can I clear the record on that and respond, or
no? Let me go on to number two. Then you can respond.
Perfect.
So number two, we have. I think the only issue that's been divisive, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is parking. I've been on 3-2 votes, 4-1 votes, and I end up on losing end of those, and I end up supporting whatever council decides. Parking is the only one, because it's an ongoing situation, that there seems to be some lack of falling in line, just to put a bow on it. Third, why do I repeat things that I think you just said don't really need to be repeated, that aren't adding to the conversation? I think that's wrong. I think we need to let people know, and the reason I say them on the dais is to let people know that we are listening, and we do hear it. Whether we listen and ignore it, that's a whole other story.
Or are we just disagreeing?
Right. Or
you don't ignore it. I've never ignored anybody, but I just disagree.
Okay. Semantics, and we'll have to let the people. Important. We'll have to let the people who are sharing that opinion. That's their decision.
Exactly.
Whether you're ignoring it or just disagreeing. And so those semantics, I think, as you alluded to earlier, come about at election time. I'm not trying to displace anybody, or that's up to the electorate to make that happen. I'm fully aware of that. I've been on very divisive boards, and it turns out I had good reason to be divisive. There was fraud going on within the district.
And I'm not calling into question that.
And that is my reputation. I don't enjoy being in that. I lose a lot of sleep over that. It creates a lot of angst in my family. But it's something that whether it's intuitive or staff gives me information, I have an obligation. I feel I have a fiduciary responsibility, or just a duty bound, because I've sworn to uphold the Constitution and defend the city, the state, and the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't mean to be divisive. I just mean to be revealing what seems to be the truth. Anybody can call me out and say, hey, that's a lie. So far, none of that's happened. The people that did it at school board, they're no longer in office. They're no longer employed by the school district.
People that called you out and did that?
So, and I only offer that not to draw any other comparison, except that I don't make this stuff up. I do investigate it to the extent possible, and then I share it. I'm not just blithely reporting what somebody told me. That's parroting. I don't do that.
So anything you repeat, you agree with, is what you're saying?
No, I did not say that. I'm saying I'm repeating it to give the impression that we heard the public.
Okay, fair enough.
I might agree with it, for that matter. I might not. But like you,
you also know that things that you say get blown by other people, sometimes taken differently too than what you're thinking. Well, I'm real careful about what I say. I try to. I don't want to put anything out there that I don't believe in myself. But bringing other people's words into your mouth to transmit back to them that we hear you, I get it. But that's not the way I perceive my job.
Well, we still have a 5-member board that's going to make. I tell people when they're giving me this stuff and they want me to go change something or do something, I'm sure you're in the same situation. Hey, I have no power.
Only one vote. Right.
It's the power of 3 that gets things done.
Exactly.
You need to go talk to the other council members. And if they don't listen or whatever BS excuse they want to give, they see me as a soft target that I can listen, I'll go get things done. No, I don't. I fail most of the time getting things done because people ask me to make outlandish things happen. But I will try to champion a cause and
carry the ball. Yeah, exactly.
If it gets voted down, it gets voted down.
And that's why I don't really have a problem so much with the parking. We have, a majority that says they want to do this. We're going to try this. That's what I said again. We've got now this back into position. I want to see how it works for a year. I have some other ideas that I've floated by Ty that I think would be, better, good with the public. But for right now, instead of undoing this whole thing, I'd rather just get it back in position, get it set up, get it started, and then a year from now, when we come in and take a look at it again, if we see some opportunity to change it, tweak it, I want to do that. But the flip side of it is, the main reason I'm for this, and I think you understand, again, it's public property that's been abused. And that's why we did it in the first damn place. We were asked to get them out of the area or build a parking structure. You can't do both. So we did the first thing, and that is put time parking on the street so that we can futurely talk about something else in the future. But beyond that, that's all it's about for me. And there's a small area, it's not that big. But the point is, there's a small group, though, that feels, I don't understand this, Chris. How does the hell of why do they not want to have that parking space turned over as many times as they can?
Because there's other ways to do it without charging people.
No matter what, we're still going to be a drag on the general fund if we have to do something that the city has to get involved in.
So it's offset by increased sales tax revenue.
Another point for me is I want it revenue neutral. I always said right from the beginning, this needs to be revenue neutral. And if there's anything that comes out on top, plus, then we put it back in the area downtown. It's its own little deal. That was my vision. That's my premise of this whole thing. There's a certain group that think, no, they can do it different ways, but they haven't offered anything. They have not. They haven't come to us and say, this is what we'd like to try.
During the ad hoc, John, they offered several different ideas.
I wasn't on the ad hoc, but the point is, the other day, I heard some people talking about it.
Those got excised. Donna was the secretary, and those ideas were not brought forward. I mentioned that when we were doing the recap on the ad hoc in November.
Can I go back and address a couple things? So, and mainly because this is being recorded and I want it to be on the record. One is that council doesn't have no reason to get rid of me other than that you could take away I part my hair every day and you could terminate my contract based upon that.
That is not the purpose of this conversation.
Hold on, but you brought it up. And so when you
As an
say,
example, and not as a complaint, that's not the place to do this. That's a whole separate topic.
and as an example, I want to be able to respond to it. As an example, if there is performance issues, all you have to do is say, I want to have this on closed session and I want to talk about the city manager's performance. And you don't have to go, the employee doesn't have to go to it, the supervisor doesn't have to go to HR, neither do any of you. So if there is any time at any point that you think that my time here at the city is done, there's a mechanism to do that. And
fully aware of that.
I know you are.
And if I thought if there was a serious, legitimate problem, that would have already been done.
I agree with you on that, and thank you for that. The second thing is, I would never encourage, I wasn't there for Steve Martin's conversation with you. I encourage, and I respect, actually, there's been several times where you've been on the pro side and the con side of the subject, and you either have known that you don't have the votes and you wanted to represent your community and speak out. Zero problem with that either. I believe in democracy. I believe in you. I believe in this council. My whole message today is wherever we can reduce predictable conflict, why wouldn't we do that? What is the downside of working together and speaking about each other as positively as we can without, like I said, if it's a belief that you have that, hey, your council members do have a conflict and it's ask the city attorney to weigh in on that and give the legal opinion of it and get it out into the open, shed light on it.
Ask Elizabeth, I do.
Yeah.
I ask. Sometimes I go directly to her, sometimes I go through you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's spur of the moment. But I'm not afraid of working with legal at all. I probably, you can ask Mike Smith from Lozano Smith. You can ask DWK. I know how beneficial attorneys can be, and I know how harmful they can be if they don't have a complete grasp of the situation. One little turn of a phrase, as you know, will change an opinion of an attorney. I can have two different attorneys from the same firm come up with two different opinions.
Absolutely. They get paid to argue.
Exactly. And they get paid to get represented or to be in court.
And that's my point, Chris, is that one turn of a phrase. One turn of a phrase can make the difference in a conversation.
So other than parking, because I think this whole thing is about parking, if there's anything else that I've been divisive on or allegedly divisive on, I need to know. If it's just parking, parking's going to die here.
To me, it's not so much the subject matter. Parking is the catalyst for the response. So what I'm trying to say is you've got 3 years, 3.5 years, right? 3 years left? You're coming up? No, 2 years.
2.5, yeah.
Yeah, 2.5 years. And so does he. What happens with Fred and Roden, I don't know. We'll see where that goes. But what I'm trying to say, and irrespective of me or anybody else, you are likely to be faced with insert controversial topic here.
Oh, I expect it.
I do too. And so that's my point, is take the subject matter out, but how we respond to crisis, how we respond to, how we communicate with each other in those stressful times is my message today, is all I'm asking for. And if this is intentional on your part, I just need to understand the rules, so to speak, of where we're going and what we're doing. Because my message today, and that's the reason I was here, was not to come in and browbeat you, but to simply say, hey, this is an observation that I've seen. I don't think it's healthy. And how do we get to a place where, and like I said, it's not about the vote either. It's about how we all interact with each other to create the most positive environment to get things done without reducing trust with each other. And that's my message is, hey, I get that there's an emotional, political, religion and politics are two subjects that will bring out nasty sides in people. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do. Or if you talk about somebody's family, right? Family is another one of those that's a taboo subject that will get you in trouble. But that's my message, Chris, is that hopefully you can see some validity in what I'm saying today, and in the sense that there's room for improvement on my part and everybody's part on how we interact. And I want to have the best relationship that I can with you and every council member. I want you to have complete confidence that if the circumstance was reversed and you, Fred, and name another council member had voted to do away with parking, I would be in your corner 1,000%, carrying the torch just as I am in this respect. I don't get the luxury of inserting my own personal opinion or biases into this. I can give you the recommendation and the advice that I think is and how it will play out, and I may or may not be right in all of that. All I want to do is create a healthy environment today, even with a controversial subject like parking, and create a model that works for everybody as we face these controversial subjects moving forward, so that way you're the most effective you can be. Because at some point, I agree with you, not only is it E12, not only is it our reputation as a destination community, all of those things become challenges that we're going to have to, work through together. And the more united you are on one subject, or even if you're divided over here on this subject, it doesn't mean that it has to carry through, and how it plays out, we can definitely control. And what I mean that is our emotional responses, the words we use, the messaging that we use. Like I said, if it's totally intentional on your part, I respect it. I'm just trying to understand it and offer advice on how to work better together. That's really my whole message today. I wasn't trying to attack you, and I hope you didn't take it that way.
I do, but it's happened my whole life. Grew up with 6 sisters. I have 3 daughters.
I didn't know that.
And 2 sons. I'm in the middle. I have 3 older sisters, 3 younger sisters. It's one of the reasons I went hid in the seminary. Just it was a boarding school. I lived out there for 4 years.
Yeah.
My delivery sucks. My message is spot on. I own that.
I think you're sincere when you talk.
I think you're 1,000% sincere.
It doesn't bother me to answer your question. Is it intentional? No, not necessarily. It just comes out that way. If I sit down and I write something out, I can stay on point. I'm a good lecturer at church. I know how to deliver a message when I need to. I can, like I said, I think this is a passionate issue on all sides. People want me to say yes on parking, and people applaud me for sticking to my guns and saying no on parking.
Absolutely.
I'm getting both messages, but I got to tell you, I get rid of this damn parking. We don't want it. We don't want to pay for it. It's bad for business. And I've seen the books of some of these businesses, not all of them, but the books are not healthy.
Yeah.
You look at the anecdotal evidence right now of what's happening since we removed parking. It's extremely beneficial. Cause and effect, most likely. We, at our peril, ignore that. And if you guys if that's intentional, I
just have a different opinion of that, but that's.
But you have,
and you have information that we don't have.
No, you haven't. You've heard it from the businesses. They
haven't shown me their books.
They have. Okay, tell them that. Tell them to bring it. They'll bring it, I'm sure.
Don't we have receipts of what the downtown is?
Here's what I know.
But those people that came,
I believe them.
Orange Dot, the bookstore, I think Jeffrey, people that have come to speak. Certainly John Roush. If you're not going, if you hear that but you don't listen to it and apply it, there's a disconnect. And I understand why you shared that. And by the way, 2 weeks ago at our Monday meeting, you told me that you were delivering a message from the council, the same message that I need to back off.
I didn't say back off.
That's the way I check it.
No. I'm not. You can be as. Let me make that abundantly clear. I'm not asking you to back off. I'm not asking you to follow mine. All I'm asking you to do is advocate as passionately as you are for any matter, including parking, that you feel is important. I would never ask you to back off. I'd never ask you to compromise your principles. Any of that. My message again is, and thank you, you expressed it yourself, is the delivery. How do we work on the delivery together to achieve the most optimal outcome relationship-wise?
On one issue.
What are the other issues that I need to
I think you've been great. I mean, I got to tell you, Chris, when you called, you said, what do you think about running? I said, yeah. The only thing I was saying is, your persona, how you handle yourself in meetings sometimes, it precedes you. You know that. And so what I was going to say here is, when we come back with an item to discuss it between us, I mean, we've heard public testimony, and we're discussing it between the five of us. It's between five of us, not between staff or the public. You need to convince your colleagues that your idea is better than whatever we're talking about. Sometimes what I've been seeing is, though, you're looking at the audience, you're looking at staff, you're kind of, where are we at in this conversation?
The only person I can see is Gregory. I can't see anybody else.
The other thing about the dais, I like the curve, but even still, you get what I'm saying, I get what I'm trying to do. When we're having to make a decision on an item, it's between the five of us at that point. Everything else is done. We don't take more testimony. But it was also not a show either. It's really about the five of us at this point deliberating that particular item and how we can convince you or I, whatever, to change your mind. That's what it's about.
I understand that.
Yeah. See, sometimes I hear, you're taking shots at other things, and I go, where is that coming from? That's what bothered me a little bit the other night.
I think it just goes, and we'll disagree on this, what I'm about to say, but I think that just shows that you guys are not listening. You don't understand where I'm coming from, or where the audience is coming from. You don't want to apply to me. I can't see as
opinion. I have a different opinion. I'm not going to believe everything I hear.
And the audience, it goes beyond the audience, right? I guess maybe it's the difference in what we're talking about with audience. I think about who's in the room there, the 30 people or 40 people that are there versus all the other folks. And I think that there is a disconnect. And this is different than your two relationship with me or anybody else. But when people from the community, I do believe, because I've gotten messages that are pro-parking. I've seen them on social media. I've seen them in emails. I get text messages. So I know that they exist just as much as you're 100% sure that your community that's reaching out to you is not in favor of it. And that's where if there is no listening, then it's on equal sides. Because there's no doubt I believe you, and there's no doubt I believe you because I've gotten the flood that you're getting, and I've gotten the flood that you're getting.
Let's go back to the point Sharon made. I think it was Sharon about the winery. The downtown wineries.
Oh, yeah.
So we had 26 wineries during an ad hoc meeting, and they had sent a letter with Rochelle from Seashell, and you challenged that letter.
I did.
And you said you wanted to see 26 signatures. And yet, when Gina called in and said she had 86 signatures, you didn't ask for those. We've never seen those surveys.
Okay.
The people that have seen those surveys, they're not from downtown.
Okay.
Again, I'll use the term disingenuous. That, and I like Gina, but disingenuous that she can use 86 signatures, alleged 86 signatures from downtown merchants. Their chamber members, yes. A lot of them were Templeton members. A lot of them.
You haven't seen them. How do you know this?
People, reliable parties.
Okay. So they signed on.
Yeah, but you didn't ask to see them. You asked and you challenged a recognizable downtown merchant who does a lot of good for the downtown. That caused a lot of hardship for people.
Okay. I guess my point, if we're going to speak candidly on that, is that there's a lot of misinformation. Trying to discern what is misinformation and what isn't is a challenge that we all have. But what I know is this, is that our downtown has experienced double-digit increases since coming out of COVID that many communities have never, ever experienced. Downtowns have an ecosystem and they have a life cycle that will mean that and I, being on the conservative side with all of this, understand that it's much like the theory of evolution. It's that there are the strong will survive, and that's the. Hey, John, how are you? Good to see you. Don't trip there.
No, I always do that. Start out the wrong way every time.
I understand. It's good to see you. Have a good morning.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
My point with all that is that just like real estate or anything else, the market speaks. If you had 50 wineries, we have almost 300 alcohol
I got
licenses.
about less than 10 minutes here, so anything else, not to cut you off, I think I know where you're going with that. Where, other than parking, where else can I improve?
Hey, it's just delivery. That's all I'm here about is delivery.
Remember you said yourself, maybe if you write everything down, you can.
I'm not going to write everything down.
I know, I won't either, but my point is that point you said, maybe think a little bit before we say something.
If you, I probably won't, John, be really crystal clear. I'll continue my current style. I think it's effective. Going back to what Ty shared with me a couple weeks ago, we have some very sensitive work from council members. They don't like things, something to be paraphrasing what they had said at a meeting, and I shouldn't do that. I listened to the meeting. I wrote down what they said. It wasn't a paraphrase. It just really feels like this meeting wants me to just, in order to get along, I should go along and get along.
No, I want your voice. I really do, but it's how sometimes.
You be you in your votes, and you are put in this position to, if you have a dissenting voice, have a dissenting voice. That is the way the system is designed. I don't need people that are in my organization or in my world that are yes men that want to go with the flow. I'm not asking for that at all. That is not the way things get done, and that is not the way you move the needle on a subject is by being passive. So I would never encourage you to do that or to lower your passion for any subject. All I'm asking for is for you to consider, A, is there any validity to what the things that I'm trying to express to you today, and weigh those. And if it's invalid to you, I respect that.
No, the only thing that's valid right now is being more focused. When I say staff, remove staff from my vocabulary. Just say names.
Yeah, call us
Okay.
out. If it's me and you are not happy with me, or you think that I have a character flaw, disingenuous, for me, I'll tell you, I think it will be the same for you, and that's probably why you feel on the hot seat today, or anybody else. If you attack a man or a woman's character, that is about the worst, in my opinion, that is about the worst thing that you can do to somebody, is attack their character. You can attack their position, you can attack their passion for a subject or their work ethic, but if you attack a man or a woman's character or an organization's character.
Remember where I used the word disingenuous?
Yeah, it was at the last council meeting.
No, I know that,
Yeah.
but what was the topic?
It was when we were talking about the information that was being provided, that you said that information was, that it was disingenuous.
The use of that information.
Okay.
It's using it in a way that it was not meant to be used.
But everybody in this topic is doing that. Wouldn't you agree? And I'm not saying I agree with that, and I don't think that any information I bring is disingenuous. I don't. And if there's
The
somebody else in
application
it,
of it sometimes can be.
I was the other night, Chris, I was about as raw and honest as you can believe. And I told Elizabeth, I said, you need to get up there and own this tonight and say BBK is going to pay for this. I talked to the council members and I said, you need to get up there and you need to own that if you are willing to change if this next 12 months doesn't work. I was up there advocating in every sense of the way to be as transparent as we can with information. And I own the fact that, yes, my job is to protect the city. Your job is to represent the people.
Have you heard just sort of nascent allegations at this point, but there's genuine concern that credit card information is being disseminated from the app?
Where that is, there's no supporting information of that. It's an accusation.
Not yet, but we need the privacy information.
It's on there. I got a response from Julie. She didn't know her link was broken. It's all there, and I got a response back for that.
Let Jan know. That would go a long way. And I think that's part of the communication, that people get a wild hair and they are convinced that there's a conspiracy. Sometimes they're right. Most of the time, 99% of the time, they're absolutely wrong. It's just miscommunication or misunderstanding of the information. Hence the disingenuous comment. You know how you want to apply it. You know how you are applying it, or Donna, or and when somebody else has a different perception of how that information should arrive or be used, that's where the angst and the mistrust comes about. I'm trying to hold people accountable to be more trustworthy. The more I do that, the more pushback we get.
I'll be honest. I am trying to do everything I can to make this process as transparent as I can. What I won't do, and that's the point I was trying to make from the diocese, I won't, and I can't unless the council tells me to, chase down every rumor that has, because I feel this way. There's zero evidence of any of this. I suspect, I worry, I do all of it. There's absolutely zero evidence to support it.
But asking for a privacy policy, which sounds like you did to your credit, that's all anybody was asking you to do. And then you said, no, that's not part of your job. I was put off by that. It is part of your job.
I understand. You were going to say something.
I don't know what we're talking about. Is this something about credit cards? Maybe I haven't been.
So the accusation from Jan Eldon the other night is that she thinks Julie Dixon is using our information in some sort of nefarious way to benefit her, and that's her interest in seeing our parking program succeed and move forward.
To be clear, it wasn't Jan Alvin. Jan Alvin asked the question about privacy.
No, she made declarative statements, and she has on Facebook and on Nextdoor and in that council meeting. And she said she used the word nefarious and credit cards in that statement.
All right, so she must be talking to the same people I am.
And again, that's not, Julie has gotten beat up, and rightly so in some respects, and not so in others. I am an advocate for what's right, and when people get accused of something that is flat out wrong, I'm going to call it out because it's not fair to, again, you're attacking someone's character and reputation, but there is no evidence of it. There's zero evidence of it. And so for me, Julie and her team have been nothing but forthright. And when it became apparent that the downtown community, and I'm speaking specifically of Main Street, were against her, I said, look, your reputation, I believe in you, and I don't think that what they're saying is true because I don't have any evidence of that, but it's obvious that your messaging has become ineffective. So therefore, what I'm going to do when we talk about money, I'm going to have Ryan talk about it because Ryan is the most credible person we have in the city when it comes to those things, and his job is to analyze and to report. And if council wants to question that, they can, but at least it's a known quantity where I feel the council has pretty good respect for Ryan.
Yes.
So it's like, come in and talk about it. But when it comes to, again, damaging somebody's reputation over baseless claims, I wouldn't let that happen to you. I wouldn't let it happen to John. Nor would I ever repeat that.
Do you consider Julie staff?
Absolutely, I know Julie's staff. But there again,
No, do you consider her to be past Robles City staff?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not.
All right, we got to wrap this up. Anything else?
No, I appreciate it, Chris, you coming today. I'm sorry that you felt this was an attack. I just don't know how else to communicate with you or anybody else, and that's the reason why I did it with two of us. The mayor is obviously the community. He is the face of the council by election. I wanted him here. I wanted you here in order to be able to hopefully deliver as best I can concerns that I have about how we as a group deal with conflict, and is there a better way to improve that? That's my whole goal, and I'm sorry if it came across as an attack because I respect the heck out of you, and I don't ever want you to quote unquote fall in line. That is none of my expectations. All it is this is the quintessential challenge that we've had as a group together. And I think that if we were to write a white paper on just personal dynamics and interpersonal skills, that there are all lessons that we can learn. And maybe I'm not a professional in that dynamic, but it was the best that I could do to get us all together to try and come to a mutual respect for each other's positions and how we deal with each other. And that was the whole message today. You be you, and I would never ask. I can't change you after 60-something years of life on who you are and what you're doing. But I can hopefully say, hey, please think about this and understand where somebody else is coming from. Put yourself in their shoes if the script was flipped and how they may be impacted by statements and the delivery of those statements. That's all I'm asking for.
And Congress is true as well. You have to put yourself in the shoes of these business owners that are going to fail and go out of business. We all have to put each other. If I have to do it and should do it, so should you guys. And they're not feeling like they're being heard.
Do you really believe, though, that parking will put out a business? You really believe that? Okay. All right. I don't. But
I believe we should be focusing our efforts on buying property to build a structure. And I
all about that.
That's 180 degrees for me.
We got it
from a year ago.
We can build it in the city hall parking lot. We got it.
We should use TOT money. We should start on a 2-year program to wean our partners off of TOT money and get them to where they're self-sustaining.
Our partners,
Chamber, Main Street, Travel Paso, etc., etc. Anybody that's getting TOT money, start bringing that back and using that money either for roads and a parking structure or parking structure. Well, that's council discussion. Do we do a parking structure first?
Please realize that TOT is just a general fund item. It is not diverted in its specific. All TOT, that $10 million a year that's coming in, just goes into the general fund.
So we give that money. We say we can use TOT money for funding to these groups.
I don't ever say that.
I've heard it when I was on the Main Street board.
I've never said TOT.
That's the perception.
Yeah, you bet. Hey, I'm here for you. I'm here for them. I don't want to create any acrimony or any animosity. I want us to be a high-functioning team. And that is my whole message today. Please believe me in my sincerity and genuine. I have nothing against you. The way we communicate together, someone said it to Linda Colwell the other day, words matter, right? Words matter. And that's my whole point about all of this is words matter. Your opinions, your thoughts, your votes are yours. Thank you. All right. Have a great day. Thank you.
Go to CalCoastNews.com to learn more. Please subscribe, like, and comment. We want to hear from you.